Wealth and health transfers. When you suffer, they prosper. Occult families. Welcome back. I'm Adeline Atlas, 11 times published author, and this is the Occult Families, How to Spot Them series. Trigger warning, this video series covers disturbing and very serious topics. Full legal disclaimer in the video description below. In occult families, suffering is not random, it is redistributed. Every breakdown you experience may serve as a spiritual battery for someone else's breakthrough. When you collapse, they rise. When you grieve, they flourish. This is ritualized energy transference, a generational system of spiritual exchange where pain and prosperity are engineered, not earned. What is energy transference through suffering? Spiritual energy is not only taken through direct trauma, it is also harvested through carefully timed imbalances. Your healing becomes someone else's illness. Your illness funds their recovery. This isn't metaphor. It is a spiritual economy of oppositional tethering. When one descends, the other ascends. This pattern mimics the structure of blood sacrifice, without the external ritual tools. Instead, the body becomes the altar. The emotions become the spell. The timing becomes the ritual. The exchange system, every breakthrough, has a balancer. In these systems, blessings are often assigned, not aligned, which means the energy doesn't flow to the rightful heir. It flows to the most obedient participant in the family structure. To maintain this ritual grid, someone must collapse when someone else expands. This explains why you may find yourself spiraling emotionally, physically, or financially every time another family member succeeds. Their wins often ride on your losses. This exchange isn't always visible, but it is almost always timed. Common examples include, you fall sick days before a parent's health miracle is announced. Your major career opportunity is derailed, just as a cousin lands a sudden raise or media feature. Your relationship dissolves the same week a sibling announces their engagement. You collapse emotionally days before a full moon, while someone else in the system seems to thrive. These are ritual reversals, engineered through both spiritual contracts and physical world triggers. Tools of tethering. How the exchange is maintained. Energy doesn't move without an anchor. In occult families, specific tools and tactics are used to maintain these transference dynamics. Photos and objects. Your image, handwriting, or gifted item may be used as a spiritual placeholder in rituals or altars. Emotional dumping. Before important life moments like interviews, launches, or travel, you may receive emotional bait, calls, guilt trips, confessions. These aren't random. They are ritual extractions to weaken your field and reroute your power. Illness as currency. The sick child may fund the career success of the father. The depressed sibling may serve as energetic scapegoat for the married sister's emotional stability. Sexual access or confession. Intimate moments may be spiritually harvested and passed up the familial chain to power someone else's progress. These are not isolated incidents. They are part of a grid of energetic choreography that allows for the constant recycling of health, wealth, and spiritual power. Why your healing can trigger their breakdown. You may have noticed a strange effect. Every time you get better, emotionally or spiritually, someone else in the family appears to get worse. This is the reverse tether. When you begin to reclaim your energy, the system loses its source of supply. That loss of energetic fuel shows up in dramatic breakdowns, sudden illnesses, public crises, relational collapse in those still bound to the ritual grid. But this pattern also trains you. It teaches you to feel guilt for healing, to fear your own happiness. Because every time you rise, you're punished, if not directly, then by watching others fall. This weaponizes empathy, and it rebinds the spiritual contract through emotional blackmail. The groomed giver, when strength becomes a drain. In ritual family systems, strength is not protected, it's exploited. If you were called the strong one, the resilient one, or the old soul, it wasn't admiration, it was preparation. That strength became permission to take more from you. You were praised for surviving while others fell apart. So you learned to internalize pain, hold burdens, and absorb emotional weight for the group. This trained your field to remain open. It made you a primary power source. And every time you almost collapsed, the system pulled energy just before you broke, just enough to keep you alive, but drained. This is ritual grooming, using flattery and expectation to secure long-term access to your life force. Summary. Signs of ritual. Wealth and health transference. To recognize the system, look for these repeating patterns. Your suffering always follows or precedes someone else's prosperity. You are guilted into emotional labor during your own high moments. Sudden family illnesses or disasters pull energy around your launches or birthdays. Someone else always rises when you fall, but their success feels energetically thin or temporary. You are emotionally baited before big decisions or opportunities. You feel spiritually heavy, confused, or depleted after interacting with certain family members. These aren't coincidences. They are signatures of a ritual exchange system, where your pain is metabolized into someone else's gain. Ritual illness. When the bloodline makes you sick. In occult bloodline systems, illness is rarely random. It is weaponized, engineered, installed, not simply as a physical ailment, but as a ritual binding, an energetic contract coded into the body itself. These sicknesses function as tools of control, punishment, containment, and energetic siphoning. They are not accidents of genetics. They are the result of spiritual programming. To understand ritual illness, we must first reframe the body itself. It is not just flesh and bone. It is a spiritual altar. Every organ, every system, every function carries symbolic and energetic resonance. Occult families know this. They use it. Illness becomes a form of offering, a display of spiritual dominance, a sign that the contract is still active. The most common form of this spiritual assault shows up in autoimmune disorders, where the body turns against itself. This is not just a medical malfunction. It is the physical mirror of spiritual betrayal. These are people who were taught, through trauma and repetition, to abandon their instincts, their boundaries, and their own safety. They were raised to serve others' energy before their own. Eventually, their bodies learn the script: attack what should be protected, destroy what keeps you sovereign. And just like that, the body becomes a battlefield for the bloodline. These illnesses rarely arrive at random. They often appear at precise moments, especially when someone begins to awaken spiritually or attempts to break from the family's energetic control. Breakthroughs are followed by breakdowns. Health collapses happen just before a new chapter is about to begin. Fatigue, nerve flares, inflammation, reproductive crises, all timed to sabotage progress. In bloodline systems, even menstruation becomes a tool of spiritual control. The womb, in spiritual law, is a portal. Menstrual blood carries life code. It is deeply sacred, so naturally, occult systems target it. The moment a girl starts her cycle is often marked as her ritual activation date. It binds her to the bloodline energetically. And through repeated rituals, some symbolic, some physical, her womb becomes a spiritual access point. Menstrual products, clothes, and sheets are often used in ritual without her knowledge. That blood is coded, tracked, used. The result? Chronic reproductive issues, endometriosis, fibroids, infertility, conditions that arise not from nature, but from repeated ritual interference. In these families, wombs are not honored. They are harvested. The targeting doesn't stop at reproductive systems. It follows the calendar. Sickness often peaks during spiritual gateways: birthdays, holidays, solstices, eclipses. These are ritual windows. And in occult families, the most important days in the spiritual calendar often correlate with medical flares, accidents, or breakdowns. You may think you're just tired every Christmas, but in reality, you're participating, unwillingly, in a ritual feeding cycle. They don't need you well. They need you producing energy. And they don't want your spirit strong. They want your body weak enough to obey. The tools of enforcement are often disguised: food, gifts, clothes, even compliments. A plate of food coated with energetic intention can induce digestive distress or fatigue. A sweater given on a birthday may carry a frequency meant to destabilize. Even words, spoken as jokes or blessings, can be spells of binding. This is energetic poisoning. You feel it before you see it. The symptoms often include chronic fatigue, bloating, panic, vivid ritual dreams, or the inability to concentrate when you're about to move forward. These aren't random malfunctions. They are symptoms of spiritual invasion, and the pattern repeats across generations. That's how ritual illness is disguised as hereditary disease. You'll hear, "Everyone in this family has diabetes," or "Our women always struggle with pregnancy," or "Mental illness runs in our bloodline." But what actually runs in the family is the ritual, the pattern, the energetic contracts that were never severed. Because if everyone's sick, no one's sovereign. If everyone's sedated, no one rebels. Occult families don't need chains. They use symptoms. And when you start to ask why the most gifted, intuitive, empathic, and powerful ones are always the sickest, you begin to see the truth. You weren't cursed by chance. You were selected as a power source. Your illness isn't a weakness. It's evidence of how much energy you carry and how many systems need to drain it to survive. Healing ritual. Illness. Breaking the curse. The first step in healing a ritual illness is refusing to call it yours. This is not your burden. This is not your biology betraying you. This is an inherited contract, a spiritual entanglement wrapped in the language of medicine, genetics, and emotional suppression. Until you name it for what it is, an external imposition rather than a personal defect, it remains active by default. Ritual illness only survives through secrecy and silence. It hides inside phrases like, "It runs in the family," and "This is just how I've always been." But once you begin to track the timing of your symptoms, the energetic signatures of certain people, the flare-ups around holidays, or the collapse that always follows a breakthrough, you begin to see the pattern. And what can be seen can be severed. This illness was installed, which means it can be uninstalled. The pattern reveals itself first through timing. Start by tracking your body's reactions around specific dates: birthdays, holidays, full moons, funerals, anniversaries. These are ritual windows. If your symptoms spike, your energy crashes, or your intuition shuts down in predictable cycles, you are likely participating in a ritualized system of energetic harvesting. It may be unconscious, but it is still active. Next, observe your body's reaction to specific people and places. Does your stomach twist before a phone call? Do you feel drained after entering certain homes? Do old injuries resurface after seeing a particular family member? These are energetic markers, signposts of spiritual entanglement. Your body is responding to a contract that your conscious mind has not yet revoked. Many of these contracts are anchored through physical objects. Heirlooms, clothing, letters, jewelry, gifts, photos. Each one can serve as a ritual tether. These are not just sentimental items. They are spiritual tags. You must assess each item not by how it looks, but by what it carries. If your body shifts when you touch it, tightens, weakens, trembles, you are holding a ritual object. The way to neutralize it is clear: intentional disposal. This does not mean random purging. It means setting a clear declaration over the item. This object no longer holds authority over my energy. You must strip it of its spiritual contract before you discard it. Burn it, bury it, return it, or discard it based on what feels most final. But always speak over it. Rituals are broken by voice, not just action. Breaking free from ritual illness also requires bloodline disentanglement. This is not a single act. It is a layered process. It involves spiritual coaching or deliverance support, somatic release to move trauma from the body, cord cutting to sever energetic ties, and ancestral reversal to return what was never yours to carry. These actions restore sovereignty to your field, piece by piece. One of the most overlooked healing tools is spiritual declaration. You must speak your health into energetic authority, not as vague affirmations, but as contractual revocation. I reclaim full jurisdiction over my biology, my body, and my life force. I sever all contracts of inherited illness, ritual suffering, and bloodline submission. My body no longer serves as an altar for external systems. I am whole. I am sovereign. I am free. These are not just words. They are spells of liberation. Healing in this context is not about kale smoothies, supplements, or ice baths. It's not even about trauma processing and isolation. True healing, in occult family systems, is contractual liberation. The rituals installed into your womb, your spine, your gut, your cells, those must be addressed as living codes. They are not just memories. They are active programs, and they will rerun unless revoked. If you've been sick, struggling, or stuck, it is not because you failed. It is because your power was being redirected. Your suffering has been feeding a system. The moment you name it, you unplug from that system. Hi, I'm Adeline Atlas, 11 times published author, and what you just watched is part of my signature program, the Chosen One series inside School of Soul. This series is not just a course, it's a blueprint for those who know they were different from the start: the black sheep, the scapegoat, the truth teller, the cycle breaker. Inside, you'll discover the family roles playbook, the golden child, the scapegoat, the enabler, the lost child, and how to finally step out of the part you were cast in without consent. How the black sheep becomes the goat, turning rejection into radical transformation and leadership. How to break generational curses and rewrite ancestral contracts so the pain stops with you. And how to recognize and escape modern forms of spiritual and technological targeting, from gang stalking to synthetic synchronicity. This isn't just about survival. It's about awakening, about reclaiming your voice, your lineage, and your destiny as one of the chosen ones. Click the link below to access the full series now, because the role ends the moment you decide it does, and the real script begins with you.